A new legal settlement between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson may point us in a specific direction for future Big Ten expansion and realignment. I will explain it all right here on Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button if you don't mind below while you're watching. It's free, it's fast, and we always appreciate it. All right, today, a new timeline for future Big Ten expansion. We'll get this dialed in for you here. Plus, an unusual senior day for Michigan basketball over the weekend. Shedeur Sanders sticking up for Will Howard, and we'll have our Tuesday tweets at the end. Got some great pictures, particularly hockey outdoors at Ohio Stadium. All that coming up here on Locked On Big Ten. So, Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC. They all have been intertwined and embroiled in 4 ugly lawsuits with each other for some time, as Florida State and Clemson have been unhappy with the ACC's horribly underpaying TV rights deal. Not getting enough money. They're looking at their peers over the Big Ten and the SEC. They're going, we're going broke over here. Florida State has openly discussed suing their way out into an exit plan from the ACC and heading possibly to the Big Ten. Clemson has followed suit as well. At the very least, these schools have been trying to, in addition to maybe sue their way out of the ACC, at least sue their way out of the exorbitant 9-figure exit fee if they do leave the ACC. The ACC has countersued these schools, and they're claiming breach of contract. So this has been going back and forth now for about a year and a half or so. And we've been sitting here waiting because if any of them ever to leave the ACC, where will they go? Big Ten, SEC. That's why we talk about it a lot here on this podcast. So all three, ACC, Clemson, and Florida State, will vote today, depending on when you're watching this podcast. That means Tuesday. They will vote today on a settlement agreement that they have apparently banged out. Now, we have long stated that if these schools depart the ACC, there would be a domino effect. It would create a college football game of musical chairs. First of all, the ACC, if just one school left, it would just blow up. They would all be going to different places, scrambling, looking for a conference to land in. Obviously, like I said earlier, it would be the Big Ten or maybe the SEC. And we would then feel that this would then lead to some nervous Big 12 teams jumping ship as well, because they wouldn't want to be left behind as well. I think it would have a huge ripple effect, a domino effect. And if you are an everydayer with this podcast, you know that we feel that eventually, at some point, an expanded Big Ten and expanded SEC will operate kind of like the NFL, AFC, NFC, kind of a super conference coming together, doing their own thing. Just in case you're new to the podcast, I wanted to explain that again. Our regulars know all about this. So all of that could be on hold for the next few years if these schools and the ACC come to an accord here today. Now, the ACC Board of Directors, they're holding a conference call. They're going to go over the terms of this settlement. The Florida State Board of Directors, they're going to hold a meeting at noon today. Clemson's board will hold a meeting as well. And all three boards, the conference and the two schools, they all have to agree in order for this plan to move forward. Now, sources do expect this deal to get done. Those same sources say there are 2 basic points to this agreement. The settlement, it's going to set new revenue distribution models for everybody in the ACC. It's going to be based on ratings. Before with the exception of the newcomer schools, everybody has received the same amount of money. Cal, Stanford, and SMU, that's a whole different deal. They're taking much less just to be in the conference as well. But everybody else, they all got the same. No matter if they're Florida State or Duke or Clemson or Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, all got the same. And schools like Florida State and Clemson said, hey, we're kind of more valuable. Football's kind of a big deal. We need more money because we're not even close to our Big Ten and SEC peers and schools over there. So they're going to rework the deal. I'll tell you what's going to come up on that in just a second. The second part of this is going to change the financial penalties for leaving the ACC before the current media rights deal with ESPN expires in 2036. They want to be able to leave earlier, but not pay as much down the road. All right, so there's a compromise reached there. It should be noted that the Big Ten will negotiate one and possibly two more TV deals before this ACC deal is up. And the SEC deal is going to be up as well. So here's how they're going to divide up the money in the ACC in order to appease Florida State and Clemson and anybody else for that matter. It's a new ratings revenue distribution formula. It's going to be based on a rolling 5-year average of TV ratings. They're going to take their whole financial pie. They're going to have 40% of the pie and then 60% of the pie. The 40% of the pie will be doled out evenly among the conference's 14 long-standing schools. The other 60% will be dished out based on ratings of schools' games, mostly football. Football's 75% of this, basketball's 25% of this. Top schools could earn an additional $15 million a year on top of what they're already getting from this media rights deal with ESPN that goes on to 2036. The lesser schools who don't do as well, they're going to see about a $7 million drop. Now, they're going to complain about it. They don't like that, having to take less money, but their option is to lose the conference and have nowhere to play. Then that would be really bad. So this plan is going to go into effect, if it's passed today, for the upcoming fiscal year, this upcoming football season. Other schools that will benefit in addition to Florida State and Clemson clearly are North Carolina and Miami. Interesting note there. If this formula had been in place last year, do you know which school in the ACC would receive the most money? Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech would have been the most profitable, gotten the most revenue out of any school with this plan last year. A bit of a surprise, but if you look back on their year last year, they had that season opening upset win over Florida State. That was in week 0. That was the only game in town. Everybody watched it. It had huge ratings. And then at the end of the season, they played Georgia in one of the most watched games in the country all year because it went 7 overtimes. Put it all together, and a lot of ratings for Georgia Tech football this past year. Plus, they were pretty decent. Like I said, basketball ratings will be included in this just a little bit, but only like 1/4 of it. Regarding the exit fees, which will allow the possibility of these teams leaving for the Big Ten, for example, it was estimated that if Florida State had left the conference when it wanted to, remember, the president wanted a plan on his desk like last December, an exit plan. It would have cost him like $700 million. When you throw in the 9-figure exit fee and then the financial rights to Florida State, even if they left, would still stay with the ACC, it'd be a $700,000 move that they would lose. $700,000 is enough to renovate Penn State's Beaver Stadium. Kind of compare that. That's a lot of money. Now, after 2030, just 5 years from now, that number is expected to drop below the $100 million and be more palatable should a team decide to buy its way out and get out of the conference. That's the date we need to pay attention to. Because the Big Ten's new TV deal is coming in 2030. And obviously Florida State and Clemson, they want to at least have some wiggle room if they want to jump in case that Big Ten deal, which is already up here, goes way up here. Maybe worth it to them to pay a few $100 million to get out of the ACC and join the Big Ten. So that's how we're looking at that. By the way, the Big 12 contract is also up in 2030. And the next college football playoff deal is up in 2031. So expansion to realignment, it's not dead, but it might be on pause here for 4 to 5 years. I think that's a fair assessment. We still believe this whole super conference thing is going to happen with the Big Ten and the SEC, expansion of those conferences and poaching of the ACC and maybe the Big 12. I still think it's going to happen. We might hit the pause button here for about 4 years or so before that starts getting crazy again. And schools like Florida State and Clemson know this. That's why they want that buyout reduced at the end. They're determined not to get caught in another bad deal while everybody else continues to get more rich. All right, they can't afford to. They can't afford to do that again. We'll love your comments on all this and all this breaking news going on today. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free, wherever you get your podcast. And that way you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And if you don't mind, share, like, and follow. That helps us out as well. Don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10.com. And all of our podcasts go there, but you can also get yourself your favorite Big Ten teams merchandise, shirts, hats, t-shirts, all right there, talkbig10.com. All right, coming up, a lot more I want to cover here today, but I do want your comments on this and how you think this is going to play out. Always interested in your opinions on all that stuff. All right. Shedeur Sanders is supporting Will Howard. They got something in common. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. Plus, very interesting Senior Day weekend for Michigan basketball for a lot of reasons this past weekend. Plus, we have our Tuesday tweets. All that's coming up here in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. Supply House, got to tell you about this. Get the supplies that you need from the site made for skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 or more top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast and from coast to coast. So, you need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real actual person on the line. And you get trade pros looking for an extra edge here. Their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. We always appreciate it. We never take it for granted. Please tell your friends about us as well. We're here every day for you, talking Big Ten. Meanwhile, hit that subscribe button, and you can help us out by sharing and following and liking Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. So former Buckeyes quarterback Will Howard struggled with a few passes at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis this week. And also seemed to be a lot of Michigan fans in the crowd because he was booed. He was booed a lot. I have never seen or heard players get booed at the NFL Combine, ever. So had to be Michigan fans. Overall, the Ohio State and Kansas State product was inconsistent by any measuring stick. But while people decided to criticize him on social media and whatnot, a former quarterback from Colorado, Shedeur Sanders, he's going to be one of the top 2 quarterbacks picked in the NFL draft. He chose not to throw at the Combine, but he took to X, Twitter, to defend Howard. He said, look, y'all don't understand. He doesn't understand all this Howard hating. He reminded everybody that, Howard just won a national championship. That's kind of a big deal, especially for a quarterback. He reminded everybody that's hard to throw to receivers you've never thrown to that you don't know because everybody runs routes a little differently. He said that was the benefit of having a pro day on campus for these guys. That's what he's going to do. And Will Howard's going to have a pro day too, but Shedeur Sanders put everything in the pro day because that way your receivers, your surroundings, you're comfortable, all that stuff outside of the Combine. And Howard and the Buckeyes are going to hold their pro day on March 26th. By the way, a little shout out to Howard. His completion percentage jumped from a career average of 4 years at 59%. It wasn't that good at Kansas State. And then it jumped to a whopping 73% under offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. He threw for over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. By all accounts, great quarterbacking. And by the way, now that Chip Kelly is now with the Raiders as their offensive coordinator under Pete Carroll, And the Raiders need multiple quarterbacks here this offseason. They need to fill their quarterback room. I'm going to be interested to see if they try and get Howard in the draft at some point. Well, from Ohio State to Michigan, there were several interesting storylines this weekend with Michigan basketball. First of all, the Wolverines have been in the mix for a regular season Big Ten championship. They're hanging on by a thread. They still have a chance mathematically to do it. They really struggled on senior night this past weekend against Illinois. The Fighting Illini, they've been fighting everything from illness to injuries. But they won the game by 20 points. Illinois did. And that was, a road win at Chrysler Arena by 20 points. Pretty good. Illinois kind of got Michigan's number. They beat them 9 straight times. But the big problem for me that jumped out that I think is a problem to look ahead to the NCAA tournament is Michigan was out-rebounded in that game, 43-31. Michigan has 2 7-footers that play. Shouldn't be out-rebounded by double digits, 43-31 with a couple 7-footers. I'm a little concerned. I'm wondering if that could bite them later on. Plus, the other story there, I don't know if you're a Michigan fan, but you may have seen Juwan Howard in the building for the senior day festivities. Less than a year from being fired and replaced by the current coach, Dusty May. But anyway, he was out about. And then I think this is a super cool story with Michigan. One of their big men we were just talking about, Vlad Golden. He's Russian. His parents are from Russia. And they came in for this game for senior day, senior night. It's the first time they've seen him. This is the first time they've seen each other in 5 years. They hadn't seen him in 5 years. He kind of went off to college in America, and they hadn't seen him. And there's great video for the Big Ten Network of him meeting his parents there at Detroit Metro Airport as they arrived. And they got to see their son play, and they were all introduced on the court. Of course, Golden, when he first arrived, went to Texas Tech first in 2020, but then he transferred after a year to Florida Atlantic. That's where he played for Dusty May for 3 seasons and then followed him to Michigan last offseason. Here he is. And again, the entire Golden family was introduced as part of the senior day festivities before the game. And you may also remember that Golden got engaged to his fiancée on that Chrysler Arena floor last week after a loss to Michigan State on February 21st. But she was there too. And one big happy event there at Chrysler Arena, with the exception, except they lost, unfortunately, in that one. We got some men's basketball here tonight around the Big Ten. Rutgers is at 20th ranked Purdue. That's a first game of a doubleheader on Peacock, 7 p.m. Eastern on Peacock. Then Indiana is at Oregon out west, completing that trip after a big win against the Washington Huskies. And that'll be at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific on FS1. And then back to Peacock for a moment. The Nebraska-Ohio State game is at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. That's on Peacock. So the Peacock doubleheader is the Rutgers, Purdue, and then followed by Nebraska and Ohio State. All right. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great storylines there. Again, would love all of your comments. If you are new to our podcast, we always close it out with big features. On Mondays, we do our top 10 Big Ten observations. Tuesday, we do Tuesday tweets. That's coming up. Wednesday, we do power rankings. Thursday, our Big Ten classics. And Fridays, we always go on the record and make our picks for the big games of the weekend, depending on what sport is going on. So we got all that coming up. It is a Tuesday, a big Tuesday at that. We got Tuesday tweets next right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at X, at Talk Big Ten. If you put something out there and I like it, I'll grab it and put it on this next segment. That's what we're going to do. And if you are on audio only, no problem. I'll describe in detail what we have going on. We'll put it here full screen. We'll start off with our Tuesday tweets, which we do obviously every Tuesday. This is a look through glass at the facilities at Ohio State. And the Cotton Bowl trophy has arrived in Columbus, Ohio. The Cotton Bowl, right? Beat the semifinal against Texas. The trophy finally came in, so they got it. Looking at through the glass there. Got to line up a lot of trophies there at Ohio State. Here is a tweet from @Bucknuts and a picture of Caleb Downs with a rose in his mouth, full uniform. He believes the hashtag Buckeyes had the greatest national championship run in college football history. It's definitely something to consider because they had to play the most games. It was the first year of the expanded run, and they had to go 4-0, and they were pretty dominating in their wins. So I might be inclined to agree with them. Most dominating run in college football history. Now, as the years go on and we have these expanded playoffs, maybe we'll put some other teams in that category. But I think, yeah, normally you just have to win 2 games. Heck, it wasn't too long ago. You just had to win 1 if you were in the BCS championship game. All right, here we go. This is cool, by the way. Columbus and Detroit, the Red Wings, all playing at Ohio Stadium in an outdoor hockey game. And if you're audio only, it's going to be hard to describe this, but couple things to note here. I picked one. I could have picked a million of these off of Twitter. This is from @Dave Holmes, Dave Holmes TV. It is an overhead or a high press box shot down below of the field with the skating hockey arena in the middle. Notice the block Ohio, the block O border around the skating rink. And then there's the marching band with the script Ohio and dotting the I on the ice. I had to take a closer look at that, see if they were skating on there. They just had extra grip on their shoes. That's impressive. Look, that's impressive on grass. They did that on ice and played music at the same time while looking up. That was very impressive. Here's the overhead shot way up from the blimp from @Bill Hoffmeyer, ESPN. Some great aerial shots from our ESPN crew of Ohio Stadium for the hockey game of the Stadium Series. That's an impressive shot right there. That looks very cool. You can see the block O around the ice as well. All right, this is @Michigan State content playing for a title next Sunday. Pictures of Michigan State players after they beat Wisconsin in a top 25, heck, a top 11 matchup. Number 8 Michigan State beating number 11 Wisconsin 71-62. That's a final. So, yeah, Michigan State, a lot to play for. We've been talking about them a lot the past couple of weeks on this podcast. They are warming up. They are ready for the month of March. Tom Izzo always has them going. Speaking of warming up for March, well, maybe not warming up. This is from @Michigan State Hockey. Your Spartans are back-to-back regular season champions, and it showed the back-to-back Big Ten trophies with some ice effects. That's pretty cool. Congratulations to them. Big Ten hockey tournament getting ready to get underway as well. This is from Jeff Rabjohns. We often put a lot of his tweets out. He covers the Hoosiers. This is a collage of some pictures and Malik Renew, for one, dribbling the ball. The Hoosiers brought out the black uniforms, black tops, black shorts with the red trim. Brand new. What do you think of those, Hoosier fans? He said these Indiana Road uniforms are sweet. #IU basketball. All right. This is the Clark report. That's still out there from Caitlin Clark in her Iowa days. It is a edited picture. It makes her look like she's about ready to shake hands with Pistol Pete Maravich. 1 year ago today, Caitlin Clark became the all-time NCAA Division I scoring leader, passing Pete Maravich, whose record had stood for 54 years. Yeah, this time last year, she was setting records every night, talking about it. This is from @Fox College Hoops. QB1 in the crowd for the Huskers. Watching Iowa or Nebraska Huskers men's basketball game, and that is their quarterback Dylan Raiola for a little bit of support. Nicely dressed. This is a video. It's actually a video of Will Howard throwing the ball. This is one of his receivers catching it, doing some footwork at the combine, but it's about a 16-second video. If you roll it back, you see Will Howard. Here we go. It's from @NFL, and Ohio State quarterback Will Howard having himself a strong job interview, it says. And look, there were mixed reports on how he did. He did some things well and missed on a few. Would like to clean it up. He even said that in the post-game, little sideline interview that he did on the NFL Network. This, more from the combine. This is from Blue by 90. And Donovan Edwards impressing everybody. There's a picture of Donovan Edwards there. 23 reps, most bench press reps by any running back. Donovan Edwards. Yeah, that's a strong guy. No question. Here's some more. Quinshon Judkins from at Ohio State football had an 11-foot broad jump, the longest of all running backs. There's a picture of him landing. That's pretty cool. We'll have a video of that. All right, so a little bit from the combine on that as well. Let me know what you think. If we missed something, send me a tweet at X at Talk Big Ten, and I'll be glad to get it on every Tuesday here on Locked On Big Ten. It's what we do. Many ways for you to interact with us in addition to Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. You can also check out our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. Our podcasts go there chronologically and by school. If you just want to zone in on your school, you can find it very easily. Got links to all your schools there. If you want to get some merchandise for yourself, wear some school spirit around a little bit, shirts, t-shirts, and hats from your favorite Big Ten schools, all right there. No matter what you do, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button before you go. It's free. It helps you and me. You can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We always appreciate that. And always offer you a chance to take a second listen. Yesterday's podcast, the day before, all right there. Also, a second listen. Check out our Locked On College basketball guys, Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. This is their go time, man. It's March. So check them out right now. You can find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. That will do it for us. As always, thank you for joining us. Tell your friends about us. We're here each and every day with news, analysis, and opinion. It is the only Big Ten podcast that offers all three of those things right here each and every day. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.